The bicentennial audit was meant to be a formality, a quiet verification of the coalition's financial integrity. The central computer initiated the reconciliation at 0900 Standard Time. Within minutes, the system flagged a concentration of sovereign bond ownership that violated every risk model in existence.
Raxor, what am I looking at? The audit shows a single point of failure, one entity holding an absurd percentage of our bonds.
Governor, the trace is still running. It passes through shell after shell, at least 200 layers. No identification yet.
When the final number materialized, the holo tablet displayed it in stark red digits, 60%. 60% of every sovereign bond ever issued, gathered quietly into a single unseen hand.
We are insolvent. The coalition's debt is owned by one creditor, and we never even knew. I want a complete audit of the audit. Find me who owns this. Now.
The banking floor had gone silent. Every display showed the same impossible statistic. The galaxy's financial foundation was no longer its own. The mystery remained. No name, no world, only a chain of shell entities ending in nothing.
Governor, the trace just broke through the final shell. The controlling entity is based on a human world. Earth, a private investment firm, Patrick Capital Holdings, registered in a city called Cleveland over 2 centuries ago.
Earth? A pre-contact world that only joined the coalition 60 years ago. This firm predates our first contact by centuries.
The firm's founding date burned on the screen, 2189, 202 years before the audit.
Pull every record on this Patrick Capital. Every bond purchase, every secondary market transaction, every bankruptcy auction they touched. I want the complete history.
Governor, the bonds are bearer instruments. Their coalition law states ownership is absolute. We cannot legally void them.
200 years of unchecked borrowing, and they never missed a single issue. This was not accident. This was patience.
The coalition had been dancing to a silent partner's rhythm for 2 centuries, and the music had started long before any of them were born.
Compile a full dossier on Patrick Capital Holdings. Every transaction, every subsidiary, every name associated with it. I want to know who these humans really are.
The governor's hands trembled. The debt was not a statistic. It was a weapon aimed at the heart of the coalition by a quiet hand from a distant world.
Governor, the legal review confirms the bonds are bearer instruments. Ownership is absolute. Every purchase was conducted through fully legal secondary channels.
Even our own laws protect them. How did we not see this for 200 years?
The firm had bought at bankruptcy auctions, distressed sales, and quiet aftermarket trades for 2 centuries.
Show me the accumulation timeline. When did they start, and how did they scale?
The first purchase was a small lot in 2189. They incrementally absorbed every subsequent issue. By 2250, minority stakes. By 2350, controlling interests in every coalition bond series.
There was no single hostile takeover, just patient, relentless accumulation.
They never forced a default, never called in the debt. They let us borrow more, year after year, deepening the trap.
Governor, the coalition has paid interest to Patrick Capital every standard cycle for 2 centuries. We have been funding our own creditor without knowing.
The truth settled over the room like a cold fog. There was no legal escape, no historic oversight to exploit. The debt was their own law, turned against them.
Then we have no choice. We must contact Earth and demand to speak with whoever runs this firm. This cannot stand.
Governor Vrenthal called an emergency session of the Coalition Council. Within the hour, every delegate stared at the same crimson statistic. 60%.
A single human firm, Patrick Capital Holdings, quietly accumulated 60% of all sovereign bonds issued by this body. They have owned our debt for 2 centuries without our knowledge.
The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted accusations. Legal experts scrambled to find a flaw, any flaw in the ownership record. But the bonds were ironclad. Bearer instruments. Irrevocable property rights. Every purchase had been executed under coalition law.
Our own laws have locked us into this. We have no choice but to negotiate. Transmit an urgent communication to the Earth government. We demand to speak with the leadership of Patrick Capital Holdings. This matter touches the stability of the entire coalition.
Governor, the message has been sent. We are awaiting Earth's response.
The coalition held its breath. The most powerful economic union in the galaxy was now a supplicant to a small office in Cleveland, Ohio.
What will they demand? These humans have been patient for 2 centuries. They will not be cheap.
The reply would come, but not in the form the coalition expected. The next move belonged to Earth. Earth's government responded within hours. A formal, neutrally worded communique. Patrick Capital is a private entity. Earth does not interfere with private property. We suggest direct contact.
They refuse to intervene. As if their hands are clean in this. Then we contact the firm directly. Send an invitation to Patrick Capital Holdings. Now.
The response came within a single standard day. A polite refusal. I must decline the invitation. However, my office in Cleveland is open to Governor Vrenthal at his convenience.
He expects me to come to him, to walk into his territory alone. Prepare a shuttle. I will go to Earth.
Governor entering human territory without guarantees. It could be a humiliation, or worse.
We have no other path. I will meet this Patrick face to face and see what his silence hides.
The shuttle set down on a gray Cleveland street, a light drizzle beating on the canopy. Governor Vrenthal walked past faded brick facades until he reached a modest door bearing a small brass plaque. Inside, the office was absurdly small. A wooden desk, a leather chair, and a framed leather ledger from 2189.
Governor Vrenthal, I am Patrick. Coffee?
This is the owner of the galaxy, an old man in a dusty office.
The office walls were lined with faded financial cartoons and a worn family photo, 3 generations standing in front of this same building.
You know why I'm here?
I imagine so. Please, sit.
Vrenthal settled into the offered chair, his ornate robes brushing the scuffed floor. The quiet was oppressive.
There is no army, no threat. Only that half-smile and the scent of old paper.
My great-great-grandfather founded this firm in 2189. He was an accountant, not a warrior, not a politician. He noticed the coalition issued bonds at 4% with 0 default risk. Every year, new bonds. No one checked who bought them.
The first purchase, a small lot of bonds at auction, was recorded in 2189. The ink barely dry on the firm's charter. Patrick lifted a leather-bound ledger from the shelf, its pages brittle with age, and opened it to the first entry.
First purchase, coalition bond, 4%, 100 units. Date, the 15th of March 2189. We never stopped. Every bankruptcy auction, every distressed sale, every quiet secondary trade, we bought, using shell entities to stay invisible.
The family tree branched across 2 centuries, each generation adding quietly to the pile.
200 years of patient accumulation. No malice, just arithmetic. And we never once thought to look.
The coalition had never audited the owners, only the numbers. It had been borrowing from this quiet Cleveland office for 2 centuries without knowing.
This wasn't a raid. It was a harvest, and they've been reaping us for 10 generations. Then I demand you return the bonds. The coalition will not be held hostage by a private firm.
Return them? Governor, these bonds are legal property, bought fairly in open markets under coalition law. They are ours.
You cannot hold an entire galactic economy to ransom. We will find a way to invalidate this.
Invalidate? On what grounds? Your own audit confirmed every transaction was clean. There is no flaw.
He is right. The law is airtight. If we contest, we trigger a default crisis that would collapse the entire financial system.
The room felt smaller, the weight of 200 years pressed down on the alien governor.
Then, what do you want? If you won't return them, what terms are you dictating?
Terms? I simply want what was agreed, 4% interest, paid on time. Our contract is clear.
He is toying with us. No man holds 60% of a galaxy's debt without a purpose.
Patrick smiled, a quiet, grandfatherly expression, and refilled their coffee cups. The negotiation had not even begun.
Then this is your final word? You would push the entire galactic economy into the abyss for 4%?
The contract is clear. Pay the interest or default. Both options are yours. I merely own the paper.
He is forcing us to choose between surrender and ruin. There is no third path he will name.
The human sipped his coffee, unperturbed. The silence in the small office was suffocating.
There must be something else. No creditor is this inflexible, not even one with 60%.
I am not a creditor demanding interest. I am the majority owner of your debt. There is a difference, Governor.
Owner, not lender. He sees us as something to be possessed, not negotiated with.
Why don't you take this back to your council? See if they are ready to hear what I actually offer.
Vranthal rose slowly, his ornate robe suddenly feeling heavy and absurd. He walked out without another word. The shuttle ride back to the starport was silent. He had no answers, only the certainty that the next move would cost everything. Governor Vranthal returned to a waiting council. The silence in the chamber was heavier than the shuttle's.
The meeting was unproductive. Patrick refuses to transfer the bonds. He insists on the original contract terms.
Then he offers nothing, only threats?
He said to bring back whether or not we are ready to hear his actual offer. He is not threatening. He is stating facts.
Before the delegation could erupt, a priority transmission chimed from Cleveland. Raxor's datapad flashed the Patrick capital seal.
It's a formal document. Terms for restructuring.
In exchange for full debt forgiveness, the coalition will adopt Earth banking law, reform its central bank, and grant a permanent human seat on every financial committee.
He wants to rewrite our entire financial system. This is not negotiation. It is surrender dressed as salvation.
The chamber dissolved into chaos. Delegates shouted, but underneath the noise, the arithmetic was inescapable. Default meant galactic depression.
There is no other way. But can I deliver my own people into this?
Vranthal retreated to his private office, the council's shouting still echoing in his skull. He opened a secure channel to Cleveland.
Governor, I was expecting your call. Have you read the proposal?
I have. It is not a proposal. It is an ultimatum. You are asking us to give up our entire financial sovereignty.
Sovereignty. You forfeited that 2 centuries ago when you started borrowing without accountability. I am not asking. I am offering a way out.
Patrick sent a simulation, a galaxy-wide economic cascade. Markets freezing, worlds going dark. The projection was blunt. Default meant collapse.
He's not threatening. He's showing us exactly what happens if we do nothing. The quiet man in that small office holds the galaxy by the throat.
I've been patient for 200 years. The terms are fixed. You have 72 hours to accept, or I will begin selling the bonds on the open market.
The connection cut. Vranthal sat alone, staring at the blank screen. There was no anger left, only the cold weight of inevitability.
Delegates. The human has given us 72 hours to accept his terms. There is no negotiation. We vote now.
The council fell into a stunned hush. The galaxy's next era hung on a vote that everyone knew had only one possible outcome. The vote began. Names flickered across the central display. One by one, each delegate's choice in cold light.
They all know the alternative. But pride is a slow poison.
A delegate from an old, proud world stood to object, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. No one seconded his dissent.
The tally stands at 64% in favor. Governor, the opposition is crumbling.
Even our own delegates cannot refuse. The arithmetic is absolute.
A final delegate, the oldest member of the coalition, rose slowly and cast his vote in silence. The chamber held its breath.
The motion carries. We accept the terms.
A collective exhale rippled through the room. There was no joy, only the quiet dread of a future dictated by a calm voice from Cleveland.
Not an enemy, a mirror. And I hate what I see.
On a small screen in a small office, Patrick read the acceptance and nodded once. The second half of the negotiation, the implementation, had yet to begin. The acceptance was transmitted immediately. Within hours, Patrick dispatched a legal implementation team to the coalition's central bank.
The terms are outlined here. Full adoption of Earth banking law, reform of your central bank charter, and a permanent human seat on every financial committee.
He's been ready. He had the entire reform plan drafted long before we ever discovered the debt.
Elena, a young human attorney, led the team. Her holo tablet contained the new banking code, 1,000 pages of dense regulation.
Governor, these reforms are non-negotiable. Your board must approve the new charter today.
They are not even giving us time to breathe. The ink on the council vote is still wet.
The banking floor that had panicked days earlier now lay quiet, every strategic desk occupied by a human regulator.
This is not restructuring. It is colonization by fine print.
But even as resentment simmered, the first reformed interest payment went out, on time, to a small account in Cleveland. Patrick watched the transfer confirmation on his screen, and with the same fountain pen his father had used, made a small note in the original 2189 ledger. The central bank board convened in a tense session. Elena's holo tablet displayed the final charter amendments.
This charter strips the board of independent oversight. It vests final authority in a human-led committee. It is a surrender of our sovereignty.
The terms are non-negotiable, as agreed by the council. The board can vote to approve or reject, but rejection voids the debt forgiveness.
They want me to weaponize my own board against itself. The vote is a farce, and they know it. We vote now. There is no amendment process. A yes preserves the economy. A no triggers immediate default.
One by one, the board members cast their votes, each decision a small death of their institutional pride.
I am voting to end my own relevance. This charter makes my position obsolete.
The charter passed with a one-vote margin. In the silence that followed, Vrenthal affixed his signature, the last act of the old order. In Cleveland, the ink was not yet dry before a simple message arrived for Patrick. Charter adopted. Implementation proceeds.
I have sold the future for a stable present. But stability is not peace, and I will carry this weight.
Effective immediately. The permanent human seat on the Financial Oversight Committee is filled by Governor Patrick's designee. The committee now has final authority over all monetary policy.
Patrick will now sit in permanent judgment over our every fiscal decision. The quiet man from Cleveland is now the galaxy's finance minister.
The committee's first directive, an emergency audit of all coalition member governments' sovereign accounts, conducted under Earth Standard transparency rules.
This is an invasion of sovereign fiscal privacy. You have no right to probe our internal budgets.
Enough, Raxor. The terms are agreed. We will comply. Every world will revolt. But they have no more choice than I do. The arithmetic has replaced diplomacy.
As the directive spread, the coalition's central bank's main screen flashed. All outstanding bonds held by Patrick Capital were marked forgiven and dissolved from the ledger.
The debt is gone, but the chains are tighter than ever. I have traded a creditor for a master.
Governor, you have destroyed the coalition's sovereignty. You signed away our future to a human who won't even leave his office.
I signed away nothing we still possessed. We lost our future 2 centuries ago. I simply acknowledged the debt.
The emergency audit directive propagated instantly across the coalition network, triggering alarm sirens in every member world's financial authority. Protest transmissions flooded the central bank within hours. Worlds that had grudgingly accepted the vote now demanded immediate repeal.
The rage is universal. I am now the galaxy's traitor, the human puppet, and they are not entirely wrong.
Governor, 3 worlds have frozen their sovereign accounts. They refuse to submit. If we enforce the audit, we will be seen as collaborators in our own subjugation.
We have no choice. The terms are clear. Non-compliance triggers immediate expulsion from the Coalition Trade Network. They will starve. We must enforce the audit.
I cannot be part of this. He is forcing me to become an enforcer of human rule against my own people. I have to step aside. Then I resign, Governor. I cannot continue in this new order. My position was never meant to be an instrument of occupation.
Another loss. The one person who still believed in me is gone. I am alone in this cold, bright prison of my own making.
Governor, the audit reports show promising initial compliance. Your cooperation is noted. The committee will expect a full accounting within the cycle.
The call ended. Vrenthal stared at the silent screen, the weight of galactic governance now a chain around his neck, not a mantle.
Governor, the committee is disappointed by the resistance from 3 worlds. If you cannot enforce the terms, we will be forced to assume direct control of their trade access.
Direct control. He means a human occupation of our trade infrastructure. He would dismantle the last vestige of our independence.
You have 6 hours to broadcast the enforcement order personally. A statement from you will carry the weight necessary to prevent further escalation.
You want me to be the face of our own surrender, to tell my people that I am enforcing human rule.
No, Governor. I want you to be the face of galactic stability. The alternative is fragmentation, then famine. You know the arithmetic.
He is right. The arithmetic never lies. But why does it feel like I am betraying every oath I ever swore?
Vrenthal stood at the central podium of the council chamber, the cameras of 100 worlds watching. His hands were steady, but his soul was not.
Attention, all member worlds of the Coalition. By order of the Financial Oversight Committee, all sovereign accounts must submit to the audit. Non-compliance will result in immediate trade isolation.
The galaxy watched. Across 1,000 worlds, the news feeds carried the statement of the governor who had become the human hand.
I have done what was asked. Now I am no longer a governor. I am a functionary of the human empire, and Raxor was right to leave.
Within hours of the broadcast, the 3 dissident worlds capitulated. Their economies were too fragile to withstand trade isolation. Earth's standard banking procedures rolled out across the coalition, each teller window a small monument to the new order.
The protests have stopped. Resistance is now just sullen silence. The galaxy has accepted the arithmetic.
Governor, the final compliance report is in. Every sovereign account has been audited. The transition is complete.
In Cleveland, the same report glowed on Patrick's private screen. He did not smile, he simply nodded.
Elena, I've prepared a document. My resignation as managing director. The firm has achieved its founding purpose.
But the galaxy still looks to us, to you.
He signed his name with the same fountain pen his great-great-grandfather had used to open the first ledger in 2189. He set the pen down and looked at the framed original entry on the wall. A quiet, full circle. The galaxy's unspoken financial regulator had just retired. His work would echo through every transaction for centuries. The notification of Patrick's retirement reached Vrenthal within the hour. He read it twice, searching for a hidden clause. There was none.
He is gone, but the permanent seat remains. The system he built will not need him.
Governor, the committee welcomes Patrick's designee. I will be assuming the permanent human seat on the Oversight Committee.
Elena, the young lawyer. She was trained for this, like her mentor. The dynasty continues without blood.
Vrenthal acknowledged the message with the same hollow formality he had perfected. The words tasted like ash. The galaxy's trade flowed without disruption. The new audit controls caught the first discrepancies within days.
Stability. That is what we traded our pride for, and it is working.
In his office, behind the grand desk, Vrenthal signed document after document after document, a silent servant to the new order.
My name will be cursed in histories, but the children will not starve.
The central bank's emblem now bore a small earth seal, a permanent reminder of the quiet takeover. In Cleveland, the final counterpart of the Great Restructuring Agreement lay on Patrick's desk. The Coalition's electronic signature shimmered on the holographic scroll. He took up the fountain pen his great-great-grandfather had used in 2189 to purchase the first bond. The nib was as steady as ever. He He signed his name, a simple, elegant script, beneath the Coalition seal. The document that restructured 300 years of galactic finance was now complete. He set the pen down and looked at the framed original entry on the wall. A quiet, full circle.
Shall I transmit the completion notification, Mr. Patrick?
Send it, and then we can close the office early today.
The transmission crossed light years in seconds. On every Coalition world, the news feeds declared the restructuring complete. Governor Vrenthal watched the notification. He did not react. The words had already lost their power.
It is done. The old galaxy is gone, and the new one runs on a ledger from Cleveland.
Patrick switched off his desk lamp, the office falling into the soft glow of the streetlights. He paused by the framed ledger, a silent nod, then walked out. The decades passed. The galaxy settled into its new rhythm, and the name Patrick Capital became synonymous with the quiet order of things. In the flicker of a news hologram, the headlines were mundane: quarterly growth reports, audit completions, interest payments on schedule. He handed a small leather replica of the first ledger to his granddaughter, who held it with the same reverence as the original. Then he returned to his study, the original 2189 ledger resting on a shelf behind him, its ink dry, but its purpose eternal.
10 generations, and they still don't fully understand that we didn't conquer them. We simply kept our word.
He rarely spoke of the long game now. It was no longer necessary. Outside, the Cleveland evening was quiet. The same streets, the same brick, a universe away from the stars that now sent him reports. In the old office, now preserved as a museum, the original window reflected the new skyline, a fusion of two eras, and in that reflection, the galaxy turned, not conquered, but understood. And in his study, the old man leaned back, a calm, quiet smile on his face, as if he had known the ending all along. The replica ledger his granddaughter held now rested on her own desk, in a different office on a different office on a different world. The original, sealed in glass, was visited by young financiers who touched the case as if it held a sacred text. In the central bank, the Earth seal had weathered into the marble, no longer an addition but the foundation.
Decades later, the anger had faded into habit. The arithmetic became the only language the Coalition truly understood.
He no longer dreamed of old glories. He dreamed of balance sheets. And in Cleveland, Patrick opened his eyes one last time to see the morning light on the framed 2189 entry.
It was always just compound interest, the most patient force in the universe.
The light glinted off the glass, and then he was still. The galaxy didn't stop. The next audit cycled, the interest payments flowed, the seats remained filled with humans, and on a simple wooden desk, beside the replica ledger, a faint hologram of the galaxy spun, its trade routes still tracing back to a single quiet point.